Hello there, welcome to the fire season. So we're in that now. It started on the 21st of this month and it will last for a few weeks, and we've come out of the scorpionic energies and now we're in the more, shall we say, uplifting, optimistic energies of Sagittarius, where we're aiming for higher things. And we're not getting bogged down with some of the densities of the Scorpio season. So well done, we got through it. For some you might not have even noticed it. For others you will have. Depends on what's going on in your chart, as I always say, because it's true. It does depend on that. So now we've moved on from that, we've got some other challenges coming our way. Pluto has now changed signs for good, and it's not going to go back to Capricorn now for over 246-ish years. So we're through that now. Pluto is now in Aquarius, which is an air sign, so it's gone from a slower earth-based energy. It's part of a bigger picture that we're unfolding, and the bigger picture is going to unfold more and more over the next couple of years. And in 2027 it will be firmly in place. So we're moving away from more yang energies, background energies, to more moving from yin energy, the feminine energies, into the yang, more goal orientated, kind of out there, faster energies. And they're going to be of quantum nature, so things are going to come around very, very fast, and our nervous systems are going to be overworked, and we're going to need to ground those energies even more. So for those of us that already have perhaps had some problems in those areas, or challenges shall we say, you will already perhaps be preparing yourselves for this intuitively, because I think we can all feel that things are changing, and they're going to be changing fast. So it's gone from Pluto to Aquarius, which is a more forward-thinking energy. This is where all the technology is. This is where astrology is as well. So there'll be a growing interest in those sorts of things. Space, metaphysics, some of it for the better, some of it not so. It'll be more humanitarian based, but more individual. So where perhaps people want to connect with others from a distance, and maybe not on such a personal one-to-one level of interdependency. They actually, it's a more detached energy, and that's another symbolism of being in an air sign as well. So the air signs are very dynamic, and Aquarius is probably the most dynamic, which is very a logical kind of process, but at the same time very surprising. So this is where Uranus rules that sign, but so does Saturn. So Saturn provides structure and a set of code, if you like, a set of some instructions that have got some precise measurements around it. And then Uranus is almost like the opposite of that, which is much more, let's change this now, it's got to happen, and it's a refreshing energy. If you are more of the introverted energy, this is going to be perhaps overwhelming. So that's where we're heading. That's the sort of the bigger picture energy, and all of the outer planets are slowly making their way from the feminine yin signs into more masculine fire. So Neptune will be moving into the fire sign. It's going to be experiencing some of that next year. So next year is going to be further unfoldment of the larger energies moving into the masculine signs, and therefore the speed and outer expression. So it's going from sort of the sort of subtle earth, mist on the earth kind of energies, to a more sort of out there and expressive and as I say, much faster energy. So Neptune will be moving into Aries next year, but it's not going to stay there. It's going to do what all the planets do, which is they dip their toes into the signs, and then they, for a few months, depending on which planet we're talking about, and then it brings itself back again to sort of integrate some of those energies, and then it goes a bit further again, and then it goes back to integrate further until it's established and mastered the energies, and the master degree of that is 29 degrees. So as it works through the signs, they say there's 30 degrees, but actually it's 0 to 29. So we count that 0 as a degree point. So that is the very strong energy when it gets to the 0 degrees, and it's past that 29 degrees of mastery and critical moment in time. And Pluto has been at that critical moment for a couple of years now, and it's been on the radar of all astrologers and a major topic. And it's a very slow energy that has been disintegrating and removing and destroying things in our lives that are not meant to go forward with us. And it's a very, very slow energy, and it can be described in some quite dark ways, which I probably would have discussed if I was in Scorpio season, but I don't feel like I want to go there. And I think that is because we're in Sagittarius season. So now we are in Sagittarius season. What have we been going through? So it's only been a few days, hasn't it? 4 days or something like that. And on the 19th of November, Pluto went from Capricorn, the more sort of traditional, structural, hierarchical, authoritative, work-based energy of Capricorn that it was in for 16 years. So wherever in your chart that you have Capricorn in your natal chart, you will have been experiencing that. Where do I want my work to be? Where do I want to focus my energies? What's worth my time? What goals do I have next? Now, those areas of life will be different for each person, but it will be the same kind of thing where it's breaking down things that have been around for a very long time. And Pluto's job is to unveil these things that we didn't know before. Sometimes it can be very much an unconscious thing. It works on a mass level as well as a micro level, an individual level as well. So everybody will have been going through a breakdown of energies in order to rebirth those energies, because it's a transformational thing when Pluto goes through a sign, and it can be quite painful. Like a snake who's lost its skin and has got no protection for that time being. It's a very vulnerable place to be during the critical degrees of a lot of these transformations, and it can be slow and challenging. So Capricorns, you've gone through this. You've had a direct conjunction of Pluto on your sun. And so it will have been a very much a transformational experience of the self. And you might not feel like the same person that you were 16 years ago. And at some level, most of us will have gone through some challenging aspects with Pluto as it's been moving through Capricorn. And it will be seen in wider society because truth to do with governments and traditional hierarchical structures have been broken down. Just drop my papers, just bear with me a moment. Thank you. So to refocus again on the energies of the Sagittarian season, it's had that kind of flavour going on. So things have been moving in the direction of Aquarius for our Pluto energies. And the Sagittarius season, we are also going to be experiencing a Mercury Retrograde, which starts tomorrow, which is what I actually came to here to talk to you about. But as ever, I always end up talking about the energetics in the background as well, because I do think they're very relevant to what's going on. So the wider energies are changing. We know this. Pluto was the first through the door, and Neptune will be next year, along with Uranus as well. And for the time being, we're talking about the personal planets of Mercury. So Mercury, for those of you who are perhaps not familiar, is the planet that rules your mind, your communication mostly, and any form of communication that might be. It could be writing, it could be talking, but it's certainly the mental processes. And when we have Mercury in Sagittarius, it's not really in a comfortable place. Quite often, Mercury tends to want to have the details and wants to know exactly where those details are coming from and what is exactly the process of this. And Sagittarius is much more bigger picture, and wants to expand everything and see things from as many things as possible, wants to experience as many things as possible on a mass scale, and it's more of a bigger picture energy. Now, at the same time as this, I'm just looking at the chart here, at the same time as this, we do actually have Jupiter is in Gemini as well. And where are you, Jupiter? Where have you gone? There you are. So at some point, they're going to collide, if you like, in an opposition to one another, which might rev up this kind of Mercury retrograde feeling even more. When planets are in retrograde, especially with Mercury, it's a re-evaluating energy. It's that kind of, it's going back into a degree energy that we've already travelled, that the sun has already travelled, and well, Mercury has already travelled. And we are rethinking things, re-evaluating all the re words. We're going back to review all of our thoughts and our decisions in those areas. So what tends to happen in a Mercury retrograde is that the energies slow down. Now, we don't necessarily want to do that when we're in fire energy, because fire is fast. Fire catches, fire is big. It's a big energy. It's very much out there. Again, it's the masculine energy, and it feels as though when these energies come into a retrograde, everything slows down. It's time for introspection, and it's time to take a step back, especially when when Mercury is retrograding through Sagittarius, because we may need to see the bigger picture a little bit more, and or it could be the other way around. It could be, actually, you know what, you're not dealing with the details, so slow down and deal with those, because so it might be, you know, an overwhelming time in those areas. So it does slow you down, and it gets you to ask questions, especially with Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is always asking questions about things to find out how it can evolve, and it's always seeking new experiences, but it's seeking meaning in things, and it's seeking truths as well. So it slows you down, and it asks these questions. Am I understanding what my truth actually is? Is there joy in this? And does this inspire me? And is it expanding me? Will it expand me? Is this actually something I want to keep going with and put my energy towards? Because I don't know if it's going to be creative in the way that is going to harness my potential or get me to that destination of a higher truth. So it's asking you to seek a little bit more, but we don't want to go too far. So it's about creating that balance, and asking ourselves, what is our passion in this? And do I need to actually broaden my perspectives? Have I actually thought about this from a bigger picture or not? Do I need to step back? Am I lost in the details? So what's the larger plan is another question that we might want to ask ourselves. And also as well, to give ourselves the credit of how far we've actually come, because we might actually be losing sight of that through our ambitions of moving forwards. And am I being optimistic? I think you're probably going to be feeling more optimistic during Sagittarius season, because Sagittarians are generally, I think that's what I'm trying to say, generally more optimistic in their energies. But we also have to be careful with that we're not spiritually bypassing, perhaps, trying to discard the deeper, darker, more painful topics. So don't bypass in Sagittarius season if you can, but enjoy the lighter, more optimistic and joyful energies as well. So in any Mercury retrograde, plans can change. That's something for you to be aware of, that if you are going to travel somewhere, give yourself extra time, because quite often what happens is roadworks happen to just spring up around those times. It always makes me chuckle a little bit, because I think they're clearly not consulting, are they, with astrologers when they do these. It's just funny how it works out. So quite often there'll be things in your way when you're trying to get somewhere. So don't stop your life, keep going, but just bear in mind that you need to maybe leave a little extra time when it comes to getting to place, and make life much easier for you, because everything slows down, including things like any form of communication. So that will involve emails to people, for example. So if you're sending an email, check it twice before, especially if it's really important. Check your contracts over more than just once. Get someone else to check it over. Just double check your communications. And in a fire sign, we are much more blunt, and don't really necessarily perhaps see the sensitivities of the person receiving that. And so it might be worth trying to take a step back in that direction as well, because it can make us a bit more blunt in our communication and be a bit more opinionated about things. So if you're wanting your social life to run smoothly, perhaps take that in mind, that you might need to calm those fires down just slightly and think about what you're saying before you speak, if you feel you can do that. So generally going slower, and one of the ways you can cope with some of the overwhelm that can come up with a Mercury retrograde is to take salt baths, because they clear out energies. So Himalayan salt bath, or a nice Epsom salt bath if you can. I know this is a luxury, but it certainly does help. Being mindful. And so that's your Mercury retrograde. Now, it's starting tomorrow. It's going to start at 22 degrees in your chart. Wherever you have Sagittarius in your chart is where the Mercury is going to be retrograding, which means going back to degree points that it needs to revisit, to do this reevaluating, reassessing, and it's going to travel back to 6 degrees. So for those of you that have had enough, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. And for those of you that would like a little bit more information about where it might be for you, then stick around, because I'm going to very briefly go through, using your rising signs, whereabouts this energy is going to be affecting you. So I'll do a very brief run through, and here we go. So for Aries rising, this is for you now. Okay, so Aries rising, I should have put my glasses on. This is the screen writing is tiny. It's for you, it's going to be falling in your 9th house. So it's going to be affecting some of your, it's a bit like having a double whammy of the Sagittarius energy, really. So it's going to be affecting some of your, it might be to do with legal matters, it could be to do with certainly truth. It could be in the area of higher education, long distance travel. If you are doing some long distance travel, bear that in mind, that it's going to be affected. So again, one of the remedies for that is to rethink, okay, how much do I need to pack, for example? Do I need to take this much with me? Is this excessive? Do I need to replan my plan and just make sure that everything's in place? And just rechecking things and taking your time and slowing down in those areas. It might be driving you to rethink your thought patterns in a more of a larger, big picture capacity. So that's the 9th house, and it's going to be it's where you feel guided, and your belief systems as well you might be rethinking those at this time, and where you might want to have adventures, and where you're seeking meaning. What is justice to you? So there could be some quite deep things that are being thought about, but it might not. It could just be more joyful things. But it's more of a higher purpose type energy, just like the Sagittarius. The 9th house is very, very similar to that. So that's Aries rising, okay? And then we've got Taurus rising. So Taurus rising for you, that's falling in your 8th house of transformation. And that is going to be with your resources that you share with others. And it could be sexuality as well. The sort of support you're getting with others, it's your shared energies and psychology. So you could be rethinking some of your psychological truths and wounds, in fact. Some deep psychological things can come up in the 8th house. Death comes into it as well, but it doesn't mean that there's going to be literally a death, but it is to do with endings. And one way of coping with this kind of energy might be good to go into the rituals that you might have in place. Light your candle, do your angel cards, get some rituals in place for this maybe quite a revealing and transformative period of your life, which is 3 weeks of your life in the Mercury retrograde sense of things. But it will unfold. It's not just going to be 3 weeks. It's going to unfold through time into the other energies. Then we have a Gemini rising. For you, it's going to be falling in your area of relationships, one-to-one relationships. So for you, it's very much about possibly your spouses. It could be your business partnerships. It's what you share in your relationships. So how are you cooperating with others? You might want to rethink that. Are you being too blunt in your relationships? Are you not being blunt enough? Do you need to look at the bigger picture within your relationships with others, your commitments? It can also have something to do with legal issues as well, and contracts and negotiations and significant others and partnerships. So possibly open enemies sometimes come into it. We have to be diplomatic and we have to take a step back, and it's about balancing the energies between yourself and others. So it's kind of very Libra-ish, the 7th house, because it is actually the natural sort of ruler of the 7th. So that's for Gemini rising. Now, for Cancer rising, for you, it's going to be falling in your daily routines and your health, your daily work. It's going to be what you're responsible for in your daily life. So you might find that some small pets of yours might need some attending to. Rethink your responsibilities around what you're giving to others in your daily life, and what is your health like? Do you need to rethink your health routines and revise your exercise regime? Do you need to think about where your energy is going in your daily life? Are you using your skills and abilities to the best way possible for you? And that also provides for other people. So for you, that Cancer, I know how much you care about others, and it matters a lot to you that you are nurturing, but you must also look after yourself. So just bear that in mind. Leo rising. Leo rising for you, this is going to be falling in your 5th house. So for you, it's actually to do with romance and creation, mostly self-expression, for the 5th house. So it's about fun and how are you extracting the most out of life, and where are you putting your fire and your personal creativity. Could be to do with your children. Do you need to be spending more fun times with your children? Do you need to rethink the conversations you're having with your children? Do you need to take some more risks in your life? Are you pursuing your artistic, creative enjoyments? And if you're not sure what they are, maybe it's time to reassess those and review, and just maybe have a experiment and not worry about the outcome so much and how it's being performed. More about the journey of it, the journey of self-expression. So that's Leo rising. I know how important it is to be seen, being a Leo rising. And maybe the self-expression is going to help you with that creatively, because you can see yourself, because ultimately we've got to recognize ourselves first. So Leo rising. Now, Virgo rising, for you, it's going to be falling in your 4th house, which is to do with family and family of origin. Maybe people from the past might come back into your life, or you might get a phone call from a family member you weren't expecting, or you might decide that you want to relook at how your home life is for you. You might want to think about your comfort zone and how you might want to expand out of that, and think about your emotional needs at home. What are you getting meaning out of your home life? Do you need to rethink how you want to spend your time when you're at home? Just something to think about. Are your needs being met in your home life? Do you want to move house? Are you thinking about that? Relocating? So, yeah, so the 4th house is the most personal in a way, because that's where we go for our privacy, and that's where we go to rejuvenate. So are you rejuvenating in a way that is re-energizing you, or is your energy being drained? Have a think about that one. Okay, Libra rising. For you, it is falling for you in your excuse my sniffing, in the 3rd house. So for you, this is a little bit like Gemini energy. So that lends itself well, because Mercury likes to be in Gemini, but this is the 3rd house, so it's not quite the same. But it's going to be just really intense, probably, in terms of your thoughts, because it's all about communication, which Mercury already is. So it's going to be, how you're communicating in your immediate environment. What's your immediate environment like? And what's your communication style? You might be reflecting on that. You might be reflecting on your daily learning process in general. Are you thinking about doing some short courses? How are you feeling about your early childhood? Things like that of that nature might pop up. Your siblings might be on your mind. You might want to give them a call. Your cousins could be on your mind. Your neighbours, where you travel every day, your short distance, people that you see every day, your car journeys. Again, travel. Be mindful of your travel every day. Give yourself some extra time. So it's generally about your communication and your thought processes. And I would imagine you might be wanting to organise things a bit better, create some more organisation in your daily details of life. So where did I get to? We got to Libra rising, didn't we? So Scorpio rising, for you, this is falling in your 2nd house, and that's to do with money, essentially, and it's to do with your own personal resources and independence and self-worth as well. So you might be looking at what you want to claim as your own, your personal value system. What is your relationship with money? Do you feel positive about money? are you burning through money? Do you need to slow down in what you're spending? Do you need to rethink about where your money is going, what you're investing your time into as well? Not just money, but what are you investing yourself into? And are you holding on to things that actually you don't really need? You're just collecting them. And you might be thinking a bit more about how to create security on a basic, fundamental sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs capacity, you know, that level of safety on the first ladder. You might be thinking about those sorts of things as well, and ways that you can save money so that you can think about your future a bit more. So that is that was Scorpio rising. So Sagittarius rising for you is falling in your first house. So this is very personal for you, because this is about how you see yourself in the world and how others see you. It's the first impression you make. It's how you start things. You could be starting some project. You're thinking about starting something new. You're thinking about starting a new project. You might want to sort of slow down the process of, you might feel quite overwhelmed at the moment because you're wanting to put something out there. So maybe it's time to reassess what you're identifying with as yours. Is it yours? Is it something that you personally want to put your time into? And is it a genuine reflection of who you are? And are you worrying too much about how it looks to others? Or is it where you want to place your energy? And is it going to give you independence? Is it something you're doing for the right reasons? What are your motivations? And I think it's about listening to your instincts. So have a think about that one. And again, all of the same advice applies when we think about things from a Mercury retrograde point of view. And it really is, because it's about the mind in general. It's about slowing down. And it might be frustrating, especially in a fire sign, because when things are in a fire sign, all we want to do is just push forwards. We've got the energy now. We've come out of Scorpio season. We just want to get going. And this energy, this feeling of, right, let's go. Oh, I've really got to look at those details. That stop and start energy is going to happen, as I said at the beginning of the video, is going to be happening as energies are closing out and new energies are coming in. It's just very retrograde-y in that wider picture. So it is going to feel thwarted, but be patient, and the universe has our back. So good luck with that. Okay, so where did we get to? So Capricorn rising. So for you, the Mercury retrograde is going to be falling in your 12th house. So perhaps you're going to be taking a step back and think about what you need to let go of. What do you need to release and complete before moving forwards? It could be quite a sense of letting go and releasing things that you have been expecting. And it could be a dissolving time, this 3-week period of thinking about things that are like echoes, really. And the echoes are getting smaller and smaller as it leaves. So it's you might be reviewing things that you find private, and it might be a time of retreat for you. And it might not be something you want to share with other people. It could be a retreat and a review of the things that matter to you deeply, that are secretive or hidden away. Or it could be a time of gathering your resources, ready to start something new. It's a internal process and a time to just trust your intuition. It might be a nice time to do a little bit of creative things to release some of these endings and have some compassion for yourself. So good luck with that. And it's been difficult, hasn't it? It's been a difficult time for Capricorns. It's been quite intense, I think, due to the Pluto going through it. So, you know, Capricorns, where your birthday is January time, you know what I'm talking about. It's not been easy. Aquarius rising, for you, this is falling for you in your friendships. So you might be rethinking your wider networks, who you want to associate with now, thinking about your desires and dreams and hopes and wishes. And it's kind of future orientated, but it's quite optimistic as well. But you might want to be thinking about what you want to be involved in and the sort of groups you want to be with, and your associations. You might want to change them again, and you might be reevaluating the people that you're giving your time and energy to. You might be, evaluating your income streams as well, and thinking about cosmic things as well, and how you understand things from a more, how it's benefiting the bigger, wider society, and where you are on that journey, and how it's expanding you and growing you in those places, and how you can become a teacher for others. Are you a teacher in your community? Are you wanting to expand in that area? Maybe you need to look at the details within that area as well to make it work. It's just something to think about, that it's to do with your relationship with others, friendships wise and networks. So that's the area for you. So that's Aquarius rising. And then we've got finally Pisces rising. So for you, Pisces, this is actually to do with your career and your ambitions, your place in the world, and perhaps you're thinking about your goals for the future and how you can expand yourself within those areas. Is it actually lighting you up anymore? Is it creating joy? And is it giving you what you want to keep growing and learning? And there are some long-term achievements that you might be wanting to dwell on for the next 3 weeks or so. Where are you a master in your life? In addition to that, it could be parental energies. So I don't know if there's things that you need to think about there to do with parents. So have a think about that one. But it can be to do with your place in society. And it can also be to do with marriage as well. So it's to do with positions in the world, where we are, where we want to go. And again, it's quite Capricornian in that regard, the 10th house. But it's where we're sort of aiming for. So you might be wanting to think about your ambitions. So, yes, I think that's it for now. It's all about being expansive and growing and rethinking those areas, not going too far, reining ourselves in to some extent, which can be difficult when you're in Sagittarius season, because all you want to do is grow and expand, just like fire does. The fire energy is expansive, and it's hot, and it's exciting, and it's joyful. It's a nice time, isn't it, to start thinking about Christmassy things before it gets a bit too serious. Anyway, good luck with it all, and as always, I wish you the best, from my heart to yours. So I'll see you again soon. Okay, bye for now.